changes.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome into the Rockstarflipper YouTube channel. And I want to talk about two companies that are brick and mortar, retail, normal stores that are in big trouble. In fact, one of them just announced they're going out of business in the past week. It's Pier 1 Imports. And I'm going to tell you why this is so important to us as resellers in just a second. The second company I want to cover, and I have this up on my computer, so I'm going to show you guys the story screen shared, but it's Victoria's Secret. And what a lot of you may not know about the story of Victoria's Secret. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Wikipedia on it, is that the original Victoria's Secret back in the day, the guy that started Victoria's Secret, he found that company in 1977. And his name is Roy Raymond. If you never heard the story or haven't seen The Social Network, they mentioned it. He only did $500,000 in the first year. And they opened some more companies, and then he sold Victoria's Secret for $1 million. $1 million, and he sold it to the guy that owns L Brands, which is Wexner. If you don't know who that is, Wexner is pretty well known in the Leslie Wexner in the fashion industry and whatnot. They own the Limited, Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie, Express, Bath and Body Works. This guy's a big deal. He bought Victoria's Secret for $1 million. In 82, after 5 years, just 5 years. 2 years later, the company did like 500 million in sales. And so Raymond, it was kind of blamed on the Victoria's Secret being a bad deal for him to sell it so early, but it was also mainly blamed on him getting a divorce and having problems in his family and his kids and his business failures. He jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge and killed himself. So Victoria's Secret at that time had gotten up to 500 million, billion, multiple billions in sales. And at its peak, you guys know, in the early mid 90s to the 2000s, they had the Victoria's Secret fashion show. In fact, they just canceled it. Last year was the final year of the fashion show. And it got up into the multiple tens of billions of dollars in sales. And now it's come all the way back down to being in huge, huge trouble. And so updating a story from just Friday afternoon and over the weekend, Victoria's Secret used to produce 2/3 of the revenue of its entire L brand. So all those other companies I mentioned together were just a third. And at the time, Victoria's Secret was worth $28 billion. That was its market value. Even at 3 times, that put it at what, like $9 billion a year. They're now valued at just $1.1 billion. And Victoria's Secret crashed and burned. Before I get into why this is important for resellers, the third one I want to pay attention to is GameStop, which is in huge trouble. I'm not going to go into those too deeply, but GameStop closing hundreds of more stores. So these 3 stores all have one thing in common, and it's something that I tell you guys all the time here, and this kind of reinforces that, and it's that if you don't adapt, you will fail. So Pier 1 Imports is kind of different because they sell kind of a niche, unique product, and we'll look at their story in a second. GameStop didn't adapt. Nobody buys video games right off the shelf anymore. They don't have to. They can just go to their PlayStation or their Xbox or their computer and digitally download the game. I cannot tell you the last physical copy of a video game I bought. And if I did, it was for collector's reasons, not because I wanted the game. So No Man's Sky for PS4, I downloaded. Fortnite, you download, you don't buy it. World of Warcraft, download. League of Legends, download. You don't buy these games. And so GameStop didn't adapt, and that's why they're failing. And so let's talk about Victoria's Secret. There's 3 reasons why Victoria's Secret completely failed. They did not adapt. So number 1 is the obvious. They're in a brick and mortar retail. Expenses are high. Nobody goes to the mall anymore. They didn't adapt back to that internet-based business where they could have dominated. So that was one problem. We all get that. Problem number 2 is probably obvious to a lot of the women out here. And it's, please don't take anything I'm going to say as shaming or blah, blah, blah. But Victoria's Secret targets one type of female. They target skinny, thin, tall, what people would call the perfect body women, right? They have a size. They don't cater to plus size women. They don't cater to even, bigger, thicker women or this or that. They have one type of body style. And that's what you see at the fashion show. And they did try to kind of expand a little bit, but they didn't do a very good job of it. Of course, other things like Walmart and Target and Lane Bryant and Cacique and other places just blew them out of the water on this. And so that was really, you know, the biggest thing. A lot of women were like, man, I can't get what I need at Victoria's Secret. And let's be honest, this country and even the world has gotten bigger. It's just a fact, right? Americans got fatter, women got thicker, men got bigger. These stores have to adapt with the change in the times. And Victoria's Secret continued to do that skinny, tall, thin model girl look on the runways. And it just didn't equate to enough customers in the real world. Yeah, the Kendall Jenners and the Kylies and the Carly Klosses of the world, yeah, they're gonna wear that stuff every day because they're 90 pounds and 6 foot tall. That's not the rest of the world, right? So they cut themselves probably in thirds by doing that. The third reason that Victoria's Secret had a huge problem, and this one may not be as obvious, but a lot of you women are going to be able to comment below and back this up and tell me your opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong here, but Victoria's Secret's expensive, right? A lot of their push-ups and Miracle Bras, those things are like 50, 60, 70 bucks. Even their yoga pants, 40, 50 bucks. That's a lot of money in any world, right? To spend on that stuff when there's a lot of other options. But at the time, Victoria's Secret had that kind of women are willing to pay extra for a name. And because they made quality products that helped you with that support, and women were like, look, we got to pay extra money because we need X, you know, support. We need X material. We need X comfortability, whatever it is. And as far as I've read, everything that I've read here that I'm going to show you, that quality product has just gone downhill. And I expect that the comments on that are going to back me up on that because, you know, I'm all for spending more money for quality and luxury and help and support and feeling, you know, I'm not going to spend, you know, $2 or $3 on a pair of jeans that I'm going to rip up in 6 months. I've told you guys this. I'll spend $50, $60, $80 on a pair of jeans if I know it's going to last me 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. I'm fine with that. But as far as I've heard, Victoria's Secret doesn't have that quality anymore. So they lost their customer base, they lost their quality, and they have really high expenses and overhead being in those malls where nobody's shopping anymore. So 3 things that caused Victoria's Secret to really, really fail. They did not adapt. So that's kind of my story into why it's important for resellers to know about this stuff, because when you look at these companies and you see what they're selling and how they're doing it, you can learn lessons from that, like cutting expenses, buying the right merchandise, catering to a bigger audience. Instead of selling one thing that only one person buys, you can open your store up and open your minds up to more people. So all important lessons. I want to take you over. I want to show you these stories, and I want you to pay attention to this, adapt or fail. You know, GameStop is the third one that's really important. They're not adapting and they're failing. Pier 1 Imports, kind of niche and a little different, but Victoria's Secret, the top of the mark there. You know, a $28 billion company has come in just the matter of 4 or 5 years all the way down to $1 billion. And ladies, this may come as a shock to you guys, but expect to see a ton of Victoria's Secret stores closing in 2020, 2021. In the next 12 to 18 months, expect the number of Victoria's Secret stores to probably go in half, and Victoria's Secret to really push an online store. I don't know how successful that will be. Are they going to go out of business? No, probably not. 2 reasons. One, they're so worldwide known. There's still a market for them. They just have to slash costs in stores. And 2, because they are backed up by Leslie Wexner's L brand, which has multi-tens of billions of dollars to continue to pump into Victoria's Secret. Even if it's not doing great, they can still support it. So it won't go out of business, but it's failing, and it's failing quickly. So let's jump over and take a look at it. Okay, so here we are. This is Pier 1 filing for bankruptcy. Officially, it was February 17th. It was a week ago. But they closed hundreds of stores. We mentioned it last year, and they filed for bankruptcy last Monday. They're based out of Fort Worth, Texas. They reached a plan with lenders to provide it with $256 million, and it's going to try to find a buyer for the company. So previously, they had closed 450 stores, including all of its locations in Canada. Around 400 stores have already closed. They're starting to go out of business sales. The company currently has more than 500 stores open. So after the 450 stores close, they'll only have 50 stores, and that's going to give them, you know, the time to find a buyer. Today's actions are intended to provide Pier 1 with additional time and financial flexibility as we work now to unlock additional value. That's their CEO, Robert Reisbeck. He should know they don't have any value. Pier 1's latest quarter sales at stores open for at least 1 year decreased 11.4%. The company lost $59 million. In 2019, U.S. retailers announced 9,302 stores closing, a 59% jump from 2018. Macy's, Papaya R Us, is that Papaya? And others have announced store closings. The home goods sector is hit hard by Amazon, Wayfair, and other competition. Target and Walmart also strengthened their home good offering. Bed Bath & Beyond, a rival home decor retailer, has also struggled. You can bet that they'll be the next ones to close up more. And the company's stock tanked last week after it said holiday sales fell short of expectations. So that was the Pier 1. Let's go over to the rise and fall of Victoria's Secret. And this is from February 21st, 2020, which was Friday. So this was Friday afternoon. Victoria's Secret struggled to keep pace with shifting consumer taste, and that means shifting consumer bodies, essentially. It's not their taste, it's what they need. 5 years ago, Victoria's Secret produced 2/3 of the revenue for parent company, $28 billion, now valued at just $1.1 billion. L Brands, one of the biggest companies in America, sold controlling stake of the lingerie brand to a private equity firm on Thursday. 82-year-old CEO and chairman will step down. That's Leslie Wexner of L Brands. Victoria's Secret got its start in 1977 by American businessman Roy Raymond. San Francisco company was sold to Wexner in 82 for $1 million. 2 years after Wexner took it over, Victoria's Secret made $500 million in sales. And by the early 1990s, the brand generated $1 billion in annual revenue and became an American lingerie retail empire. In 1995, they launched the fashion show. Quickly became a pop culture phenomenon, millions of viewers, but once the primetime appointment television show was widely criticized for promoting unrealistic ideals of beauty and suffered a shrinking audience. There you go. In 2019, the brand announced it would no longer air the fashion show. The reason I decided to stop working with Victoria's Secret was I didn't feel it was an image that was truly reflective of who I am and the kind of message I want to send to young women around the world of what it means to be beautiful, said Carly Kloss in an interview with Vogue. She modeled from 2011 to 15, and she's also the sister-in-law of Ivanka Trump. She's married to her brother. The lingerie chain has been losing its grip on shoppers by offering underwear that emphasizes the erotic over comfort, another problem. Sales growth tumbled for 6 consecutive quarters. As social norms defining beauty and sexiness have changed over the years, Victoria's Secret has stuck to the same playbook and lost a large number of customers to competitors. By contrast, some rival lingerie brands and startups feature models with different body types, skin colors, and gender identities. An inclusive marketing strategy has won them a good chunk of the market. The brand's market share dropped to 24%, down from 31%. They lost 7% of their business in just 5 years. Aerie, which is a lingerie brand that you guys know American Eagle owns, started featuring non-models in its marketing and advertised unpolished photos of women wearing its product. And Aerie generated $646 million in revenue fiscal 2018, up 6%, and more than 60% of American Eagle's growth generated by lingerie. Target 2, we talked about last year, different shapes and size lingerie. Walmart did it. All these different places. Also, Wexner was tied to Jeffrey Epstein. If you don't know who he was, Google him. It'll go through some structural changes, find its new position in the lingerie market after he steps down, and they may or may not make it, but they're definitely going to lose some stores. They have to cut cost, and so adapt or fail. That is definitely the lesson to be learned from these stores going out of business, left and right. These are the stores that have continued to do things the same way they've always done them. If you are failing or not doing what you think you should be doing, and you just continue to wake up and keep doing it every day, probably a good chance nothing's going to change, right? And Victoria's Secret didn't listen to those warning signs and change what they were doing. And you can't change it after you failed. It's too late then. You have to change when you see the change coming. So make sure that you look at everything in your store, see what's working, see what's not working. If you don't have best offer, you don't have free shipping or handling time or whatever you have going on, if your items aren't moving, if you're spending too much, find a new place to source. If you need help with finding a new place to source, get my webinar. If you need to find a way to edit your store, get a store review. If you need to find new things to look for, go to YouTube and watch the hundreds of free YouTube videos, thousands of free YouTube videos. Do something differently. Stop selling clothes, sell something else. Only buy it if it's not clothing. If you're having a really good time with clothing and you suck at hard goods, stop buying hard goods. Whatever you're doing that's not working, stop doing it and do something else. So we can learn a lot from these major multi-billion-dollar companies going out of business. Hopefully you do. Hopefully you enjoy this video. And if it helps motivate you and get you on the right track, hit that like button, hit that big thumbs up. It really helps us and we appreciate it. And as always, you can subscribe to this channel with your notifications on so that you never miss a video, a news update, or a piece of advice you might need. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. I'll see you next time.